Welcome in for today's Game Day Chalk Talk. I'm Patrick Herb from Wisconsin Athletics, and today's Chalk Talk is presented by the Wisconsin Badgers Basketball Booster Club. We've got assistant coach Orlando Tucker joining us in just a minute to answer some viewer questions that we got from you all and to get ready for tonight's showdown against Iowa here at the Kohl Center. So today's event is also part of our Fan Appreciation Day. Today's a day that we want to go out of our way to say thank you to Badger Nation. We have missed you so much at the Kohl Center this year. It is just not the same. There's no replicating the energy that you all bring, and we miss you so much. But we're also so grateful for the support that you've given, whether you're a season ticket holder or you just come to one game a year or you watch the games at home or you're a donor, whatever your level is. We're appreciative, and we can feel the support. We really can. The team can. And today is a day that we want to say thank you. And so follow our social media accounts. Follow at BadgerMBB on Twitter and on Instagram, and Wisconsin Men's Basketball on Facebook, but also UW Badgers on Twitter and Instagram, and Wisconsin Badgers on Facebook. We're giving away thousands of dollars worth of prizes all throughout tonight in the evening and during the game, hotel stays, $1,000 student prize, gift cards to Bucky's Locker Room and the bookstore. We've got Culver's gear and Culver's food, also Under Armour gear to give away, all sorts of prizes that are solely intended to just say thank you to our fans and to say that we missed you. So for fans who are watching that are not familiar with the Badger Basketball Booster Club, first of all, welcome. It's nice to have you. And second of all, I want to give you a little bit of snapshot about what we are as a club. So this is a group that backs the Badger basketball team. Simple as that. And being a member has its privileges. For just $100, you can get into the membership. And there are things that happen like Chalk Talks like this. This usually happens live about 90 minutes before the game in the Nicholas Johnson Pavilion, where an assistant coach comes up and gives you the scouting report on the team that the Badgers are about to play. It also has golf outings or overtime luncheons with Coach Guard, dinners at the Kohl Center, things like that. If you're interested in becoming a member, there's an email address scrolling at the bottom of the screen right now. You can email Laura Strang at ljs@athletics.wisc.edu. It's a great club, does so much for our basketball program, and we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you as a member. And we also want to take a moment right now to express our gratitude and say thank you to our Chalk Talk sponsors. We can't do the things that we're allowed to do and we're able to do without your support, and we really appreciate it. The names and the companies are scrolling at the bottom of the screen, and we just want to say thank you. Okay, before we bring Tuck in, we're going to do a quick flyby on the season so far and where the Badgers stand on today, February 18th. So 15-7 overall. 9-6 in the Big Ten. Wisconsin has a huge game tonight, big for the conference standings. Iowa, number 11 Iowa, comes into town just one half game ahead of Wisconsin in the conference standings, sitting at fourth place. They're 9-5 in the league. Wisconsin's ranked 21st in the AP poll as of today, but they're a little bit higher in a lot of the metrics that the NCAA selection committee uses to seed the bracket for March Madness. So that's a good thing. They're number 14 in Ken Pom ratings, if you're familiar with that. Or 14 in Sagarin, 16 in ESPN's BPI. So when you put that all into a pot, Wisconsin right now is sitting at about a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, but a lot of opportunities ahead to increase that seed, hopefully, and get hot like we saw last year's team do. The Badgers have played one of the toughest schedules in the country, and according to Strength of Schedule, they have the hardest remaining schedule in the entire country these last few games, and that certainly begins tonight with a big opportunity against Iowa. All right, enough of me. Let's bring in the main event for tonight. He's our featured guest. He needs very little introduction. The school's all-time leading scorer and his second year on the Badger bench as assistant coach. Let's welcome in Orlando Tucker. That's Tucker.
How's it going?
That's the famous Dick Vitale call. Dick Vitale is going to be doing tonight's game. You probably didn't know that, Orlando.
No, that's a first. Man,
How many times have you seen that clip of him shouting you out and showing your mom in the crowd?
Man, I think my family showed me more than I wanted to see. They were more excited about it than I was, but no, I saw it a lot.
That was from the Pitt. That was from the Pitt game when they came in here number 2.
Yeah.
And we'll jump right into it. One of the questions that we asked people to submit questions was, what memory, what game stands out the most from your playing career? I wonder if that one's in the mix.
Man, that probably is one of the ones that stand the highest in my mind, just simply because it was a lot to put on. Like my mom, it was more shine on her. That moment, I think, sits with my family the most. That one, and I always remember my very first start against UNLV here. I always talk about it. It was one of the biggest games where it was like, hey, I kind of cemented my name in Wisconsin about, hey, I got a bright future here. And it was UNLV, very first start of the season. I think we had played 4 games. Coach Ryan inserted me into the starting lineup. I had 24 points and 18 rebounds as a freshman. One of those moments I was like, wow, I can actually play here. I can play in the Big Ten. Those two, I think, are just some of the few memories. I got tons.
Yeah, I believe it. We'll get into some more memory lane stuff in a minute. Let's get down to tonight's game first. Let's start there. So, Iowa on tap. Give us like a 30-second scouting report of what you see when you watch Iowa on tape.
If you've been following Big Ten basketball in itself, when you say Iowa, you say Luka Garza, right? I think you say that right away. Before diving into the team, you see a National Player of the Year candidate that just lights the scoreboard up. But then when you take a deeper dive into them, they have the number 1 offensive efficiency in the nation, not the Big Ten, the nation. They're playing great as a team. So the way they pop the ball, the way they move it, the way they shoot it, again, it's in comparison. I just read some notes on the game prior to it. It's like comparison. It's in comparison to our 2015 team, right? Am I right? Maybe we got to do some fact checking, but in terms of efficiency, offensively, they're playing the top of the game on that side of the floor. So coming into the game, we got to make sure that we're taking away, which will be tough. We got to take away any easy looks at the basket for Garza. I mean, we're going to have to, Micah and Nate's going to have a heck of a load tonight. And they're going to have to really share the minutes of trying to just keep him uncomfortable the whole game. And then we can't let them get any kind of free-flowing shots in transition. They love to get out. They love to shoot the basketball, and they can shoot it really well.
Yeah, I was going to say that they do have a lot of comparisons to that 15 team in that they don't turn the ball over. They're actually second in the conference in fewest turnovers. And we know that 15 team was good at that. They shoot the ball well like the team did in 15, and they got a All-American in the middle. So there are some similarities. But pace is one that's very different. That 15 team played much slower pace than Iowa, who wants to get up and down. So how do you prepare for that in practice? How do you prepare for fast-paced teams?
We try to do a bunch of different, what we call disadvantage drills. So we start out with maybe 4 guys on defense. So let's say our 4, Brad, you'd have Micah, or you'd have Nate, and you'd have Tyler, and you'd have Meach maybe. And they're starting on defense, and you create just disadvantage scenarios where they'd have to play 4-on-4 defense, and then they play 4-on-4 offense. They shoot up a shot, and then 5 guys run down. And the scout team doesn't even get to take the ball out. They push it, and now we're 5-on-4. And the last guy that we have defensively is trailing. Once the ball passes half court, that guy can then catch up. So it's a bunch of different drills where you try to create these scenarios that may not be game-like, but it gives our team the best preparation of being in disadvantage, because that's what transition is. You're in a disadvantage. You're running back on your heels. So you have to be able to run back and then try to be able to identify, communicate, and all those things. So how do you simulate that? Is trying to create drills. And at the same time, we have a veteran group that we understand that we can play really well in transition. We've done it. We've held some teams to 0 points in transition. So we showed the capability of doing it. We just got to make sure we wear that hat tonight, and that's high priority for us.
So several of the questions that we got from our great fans centered around, how do you pick your poison with a team like this? So obviously they've got Garza, and some teams have tried to double team him. I think Michigan tried, and then Iowa hit 13 threes on him and beat him by 30. So I don't want you to give away all the strategy, right? I'm sure Iowa's watching this, but how do you defend Garza, but also make sure you don't allow them to get hot and get prolific from 3?
Well, yeah, it's what side of the fence do I want to be on in this game? It's you try to double, but then you give open shooters free reins at seeing a basket with their 10 toes pointed to it. We just want to make it tough as possible for him to get low catches. When he's very dominant in the game, he's catching a ball in his spots. He's catching it where he has an angle to the basket. We just want to take that away, right? We want to make it as tough as possible for him catching the ball. Is when he catches it low, it's almost you can count it a foul or you can count it a basket. So we got to make sure that he's not catching it in his comfortable spots in the post. We got to make sure we're identifying them early. It's just going to be a battle. I mean, we got to make sure that we're going to say, hey, I think we got some guys in that locker room that they're willing to take the challenge. They're seeing it. They're saying, okay, got Micah and Nate that said, hey, we're going to accept the challenge of showing that we defensively, we're going to try to hold our own. So take that away and we keep them from shooting comfortable threes.
Let me ask one more question on Iowa before we move on. So they've lost 6 times, so they're not indestructible. We know they're very good, and they have a ranking and deserve that 11 ranking because they're very good. But they've lost 6 times. So as you've watched it back, what have teams done when they have beaten Iowa? What have they done successfely?
They've taken them out of transition. They made, if you watch like specifically an Indiana game, they played
them twice.
They played them twice, right? And they made it a really rough. They took everything. They made it half court. And they mucked everything up for Garza. He couldn't catch it. He couldn't catch it in the spots. When he caught it, he was so tired because they kept him working offensively as well. So where they struggle is it's 2 ends of the floor, and they got to get back, and we got to shoot the ball with confidence. We got to make sure that we're not settling and playing an up and down game because that's advantage Iowa because they want to play that game. They don't want to guard in the half court. So we have to make sure that we tire Luka Garza out by making him guard us on the other end. And tire we camp out and some of those other guys by making them guard us on the other end. So we have to shoot the ball with confidence and play, our style of basketball. And we're confident in shooting the ball, letting it fly, and it's going in the net.
So, okay, you never lacked confidence when you played, I imagine. We got a question here. If you had to right now, how many minutes could you give us?
Oh, right.
Hey, we only got 4 guys healthy. We need you. How many minutes could you give us?
Hey, so I'm glad I've been kind of practicing with the guys here and there. I could give you a legit half.
Oh,
full out. I can give you a half. Full out. I need time. If they gave me 2 weeks to prep. But right now, I've been keeping myself in shape by just competing with Joe, whether we're competing on game days and we're just doing some Coach Krabenoff. We're doing some one-on-ones. But I could probably give you 20 minutes of good basketball.
And what would you feel like the next day?
Now that's a whole that's a different story. See, that's a different story. It takes me probably after I practice, it takes me 3 days of recovery.
Another question we got was that a lot of eyes tend to gravitate you on the bench, that you're real animated and that you're excited on the bench, and it's clear that you love coaching. Do you guys talk about it as a staff, kind of what your roles are on game day in terms of dealing with players or strategy or being Coach Guard's ear, or if you've got the scout or being kind of more of a hype guy? Do you talk about that, or does it come organically?
Things come organically for me. I'm always full of energy. I mean, from the day one, if you step in practice, if you step in a room, it's just my natural. That's who I am. It's ingrained in me to be that way. But I just also know that these guys, they need that. I've been out there on that floor, and I know what it feels like when you have so much pressure. But just to see some positive reinforcement coming from me, that's who I am, right? Just see things, be the energy. Specifically this year, more so than ever, you need that manufactured energy. I understand that, so I try to provide it for those guys. But we never really structure or talk about. It's never really structured or planned, or we sit down and say, "Hey, this is what you do." For the most part, if it's your scout, if it's your game, it's your scout. You're calling out different defenses. That happens. I just so happen when it's my scout, I stand up and do it. I'm like next to Coach Guard sometimes, and so I know sometimes he's like, "Hey, sit down." But it's I can't help it. It's me. I'm trying to call out every play. I'm trying to energize guys, but I don't think we really just naturally talk about it. It's something we do organically.
But you bring up a good point that in this era of COVID pandemic basketball where there are no fans, we hear that a lot. You have to create your own juice. And I think that that's something that you definitely must take to heart, that's important. That brings value.
It is. If you're, you can see the energy flowing. I don't know if you're watching the game, you can see it, but in a gym, you could tell the difference between a dominant team versus a more passive team. And the more passive teams are sometimes more quiet, right? They're not manufacturing their electricity, or it's not radiating between the team, or it's not permeating throughout the team. So I'm always naturally, I've been that way as a player, and I know we have most of our guys aren't naturally wired that way. They're just more reserved. So I like to make sure that I'm just giving them a little extra pop of energy.
Another question we got was, can you identify one area that you've seen improvement in the team since the start of the season, whether it's an aspect of the game that the team has gotten better at, or a specific player that you think has made a lot of growth from November?
Well, if you're watching as a team, this is a challenging year. First of all, I just want to make sure that we keep in perspective when we're watching this and we understand what our student athletes are tasked with and what they're getting out there every day. So I just want them to be celebrated in the fact that they've made it this far, playing games, doing virtual classes, and everything that they've been asked, they've done it above and beyond. So just the mere fact that they made it this far and we're playing games during a pandemic should be celebrated regardless of win or loss of these student athletes all across the board. Our guys, obviously, because of bias, I think we've been extraordinary with every single aspect of what we've been doing. From a basketball standpoint, you see guys like Tyler Wall making really good strides. You see I think you see flashes of Johnny Davis, of what he'll be like for the next 3 years. And I think it's scary to certain Big Ten teams. Understand get those two guys back and saying, hey, man, they're getting a lot of play. But things that people don't see probably is the guys that aren't getting out there, the young guys, the Steven Krause that are in practice that are growing. Confidence is growing every single day. But as a team-wise, it's just we battle every day of maintaining our confidence and finding ourselves and finding our rhythm. But individually, I see some guys that are starting to put some things together now. Collectively, we need to do it as a team and show it tonight.
Okay, a couple rapid fire questions that we had submitted.
Let's go.
All right. Favorite former teammate at Wisconsin? You can't say Joe Krabenhoff because that's too easy.
Oh man, that put me.
I'm gonna take that right off the table. You can't say that one.
That's put me on the spot.
Yeah, now you gotta go somewhere else.
So I loved all my teammates. Probably naturally because I came in with this individual, Ray Nixon. Is because he was my roommate throughout from freshman year on to we graduated. That I'd have to say that because we spent most of our time together.
Where is Ray right now? I know he played overseas and in Japan for a long time.
Overseas, he's doing strength and conditioning. He's in Texas right now doing a lot of strength and conditioning. He's doing some individual development for people. So he's working with that, and he's growing. I've been watching, been following him. We talk about it, but his passion is kind of body weightlifting, just nutrition, dieting, all of those things. So he's doing well in Texas with that.
If he's in Texas, you might want to check in on him. They've got a bunch of snow, and they don't know how to handle that snow down there.
Yeah, I just saw some things where he was posting saying electricity's out. So, yeah, it's
check in on him. All right. What was your highest vertical at your peak, and what is your vert right now?
Oh, we don't test it anymore. we don't test it anymore. But I mean, last time we tested, I broke Michael Finley's. For my freshman year, it was like standing vert of like with no approach. It was like 38.5. I believe I'd have to ask our former strength and conditioning head box. And I think my approach was like 46 or something 46. Like that. It was like 45, 46 inches. They took it up. He's probably got it all documented still in the records. But yeah, I beat Michael Finley's at that point. But freshman year, if you ever saw that photo during the NCAA tournament where my head is the Kentucky game. So that's a snapshot of how high I used to get. Not now. Nowhere near that anymore.
That's one of my favorite all-time photos from Wisconsin. Yeah. Is that one again, the Sweet 16 against Kentucky in Minneapolis. All right. Favorite memory from your senior day? Played Michigan State at the Kohl Center.
Oh man, the actual shot from Cam Taylor. Knocking that shot in. Like when we're down and hitting that shot, that moment, because you wanted that game so bad. Always when you play Michigan State, you know how it is. When we play Michigan State, rival, unspoken or spoken, it's a rivalry. And you want that so much, but just the fact that you realize that that's your last time in the Kohl Center that you're going to play in front of those fans. And during my time, we had the best crowd. Like, hands down, NB Nation. And realizing that at that moment, I'm not walking out that tunnel anymore. You want to win for the fans. You want to win for everybody that was just die hard Wisconsin basketball through and through.
Many of those people are watching today, I assume, and they appreciated your effort. There's no doubt about that. Okay. Did you have a game day ritual as a player? Do you have any now as a coach?
No, I wasn't super. I didn't have like a any kind of OCD tendency to have to be repetitive in something I did every single day. I have, you have people that have to listen to certain music all the time. I would just always zone out as a player and try to visualize the game. So I'd always try to visualize myself against these different opponents, what I'm going to run, how they'll try to play me. So I'm a huge visual learner. So in my mind, I'd sit in my locker and I'd have to place myself in scenarios and what would I do? So I always thought the game ahead. So every single game, I picture myself on the court being matched up against the team that I was playing and try to figure out how they play me. I try to guess or their scouting report against me in the team. Now as a coach, same thing. I'm always picturing like even if it's my scout or not, how will they play us? Who do I need to talk to get them prepared during that game for what I think how I think they'll play us? But it's no. I can't pinpoint it down to like something you might want to hear and say, oh, you know what? I'm always tying my left shoe before my right. It's not like that.
All right. When's the last time you talked to Beau Ryan?
Man, it's been a couple weeks. It's been a few weeks. Last time we talked, it's been a few weeks. He talked to me last time. He said, hey, I'm going to let you go through the course. He knows how this thing flies by. But he's always coaching. He's a coach. Hard. So you just got to sit there and listen. I'm doing more listening than talking whenever we talk. It's always like that with him.
He's telling you what his handicap is in golf.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Telling me that how during the pandemic, nobody's out visiting him in his California home. So he's like, hey man, he doesn't know what to do. We have all those type of stories.
Okay, next one that we got from a viewer. Do you think anybody breaks your all-time scoring record at Wisconsin?
Honestly, you hope, right? Records are meant to be broken, and you're looking for that next, right? You're looking for that next. I want to be a part of coaching that next to break that. I remember talking to Mike Finley about that, and when I had no clue that I was approaching his record until my senior year. I never cared about stats, never looked. And it was like, honest to God truth, it was towards the end of the season. The guys were like, you're about to break the scoring record. I was like, what are you talking about? I was so focused on wins. And I just heard the stat like, hey, you have a couple more games to break it. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I just kind of played myself through it. But after breaking it, after breaking Michael Finley's record, he sent his mom to the game that I broke it. And talking to him after, he's like, man, he was rooting for me to break it. He was like, records are they're meant to be broken. And, he's just such a fan of the game. I'm in the same manner. I'm looking for that next. I'm hoping now that I'm a coach, I could be a part of coaching that next person to break that record.
Yeah, and another reason we hope somebody breaks it, because that means we got a great player coming along. That's another reason.
Exactly.
All right, we got a question submitted in the chat during this. Who would you identify as an X factor for this team the last month of the season here, like going into March?
I think we're going to need – obviously we need everybody. For us to be successful, we know all 5 guys. But if I could nail it down to one person, I'd say a lean forward. Why I say lean forward? When a lean forward, I think he's the silent leader in that locker room. For some reason, I watch how the guys navigate and towards things that he talk about. I feel like they always kind of end up listening to when he does speak, or they kind of gravitate towards his play. And on the court, case in point, he's playing well against Michigan. We're up 14 points. If you go back and pinpoint to the games that he's played really well offensively, knocking down shots, his energy that he brings, and I think the guys feed off that because he's such a great dude. He's a great guy in that locker room. When he doesn't speak a lot, but when he does, everyone listens. If he wants to hold somebody accountable, when he says something, they listen. So I think it's going to be important. If you look at the run we made last year to winning the Big Ten, sharing the title, he played really well, along with a bunch of other guys. But I'd say lean when he plays his game, specifically offensively. He's knocking down shots and he's bringing energy. We play well.
That's a good one. It's been fun watching him develop as a player and as a person too. Because when he came here, he's still a pretty quiet guy, but when he came here, he was real quiet, and he's finding his voice on and off the court. It's fun to see. Okay, couple more. Who talked the biggest trash that you faced in the NBA?
Kobe Bryant. No, hands down. No, when I guarded Kobe and it was nonstop talk. He had the ultimate confidence. He's by far. And you'd always hear, if you watch all the stories about how he studied MJ, Michael Jordan. I'm from Chicagoland area, so Michael at the time, probably even as an owner, is the trash talker in the game. Kobe, naturally, by studying him, he picked up that trait, and being on the court with him, you kind of appreciate that. You admire it, because I was never one to back down. So that was like, that was one of the guys that you always watch his every move, and he's always talking.
So when he was talking with you, would that get you going? Would you start talking?
Oh yeah. When I got in the game, that was my very first start in the NBA. It was against the Lakers when I was playing for Phoenix. I had a great game. It was one of my best games, probably because he was talking. And I love the competition. But I remember very first play, I'm on the court. He's posting me up, and he's like, "Oh, I got a rookie." He's like, "I got a young fella. Throw me the ball." And he just kept saying, "I'm about to eat tonight. I'm about to eat tonight." And I look, and I swear, if basketball terminology, when they say you're on an island, that means it's you and the person with the basketball, and everyone else is nowhere to be found. So I remember looking for my help, and everybody else, it just felt like it was me and him on the basketball court playing one-on-one. No one was existent, and it was kind of scary my very first couple plays.
Yeah, that's got to be an unsettling feeling, not having help defense on him. Okay. Last two, we asked for questions, and we're going to give away a couple of prizes. You were kind enough to autograph a ball here, and we solicited some questions. So this one comes from Todd Bethy on Twitter. It's at Todd_BETHE. So Todd, thanks for the question. He wanted to ask, what do you see as the biggest difference in the game from when you were a college player to the college game now? And not the pandemic. Let's take that out of it.
Yep.
What's the biggest difference in the game?
Analytics. I think we so caught in analytics that it's shaping the way players are playing the game, right? If you look at the game, it's all threes or it's all layups. There's no in-between game. We put a lot of players, put so much on stats. Back in the day, they never talked about field goal percentage. Like if you look at Allen Iverson, some of his shots, Allen Iverson would go 15 for 30. You never hear about it. You just hear he had 45 points. I think we start putting so much on just analytics that coaches, programs are shaping their game based off of it, with sometimes losing the natural elements of the game in itself. So I think analytics has changed a lot. I'm not saying for the better or for the worse, just they have shaped the game, because that's all everybody's talking about before the game. What's their KenPom ranking? What do they do?
Right.
Okay, well and it's sometimes you just got to have a feel for the eye test of what teams are doing and how to take things away. So I think that's changed the game overall.
All right. And this question comes from Kayla Huber on Facebook. She's a teacher in Ashland, Wisconsin. She said, "How do you and the other coaches instill the drive in players to play defense? How do you get guys, because offense for show, right? Yeah. But how do you get them to want to be great at defense as a team and as an individual?"
Yeah. Well, man, it starts in, I would say, your upbringing in basketball. Now, because this generation is built on social media, let me throw this kind of scenario back. How many, if you're following Twitter, you're following Instagram, you're following Facebook, how many posts do you see of kids that they just show them playing defense? You don't see many, right? So
maybe a 6-down block. That's about it.
right. You'll see a block because that's pretty though. That's exciting. That's something. But you don't see charges. You don't see, hey, this kid was in a help side, is in a gap. He knows how to play gap really well. So I think everybody's selling themselves on how many points they have, that's all attractive on social media. So it's a mindset of growing up, because defense is sheer. It's I would say purely like when I grew up playing in the parks. in order for me to get on the court, I'd either have to score or be able to stop somebody, right? And for the most part, playing in Chicagoland area, you need to be able to stop somebody. So it's a demeanor, it's a mentality. So we do a great job of creating a system to try to help individuals understand how to take certain things away. But at the end of the day, it comes down. I talk to the coaching staff. I said I had a button that's called the "Want It More" button. It was always I wanted more. So we can talk about X's and O's, but I don't care about that. At the end of the day, I want it more than you. So that's a mentality you have to have, and that's a mentality you have to take on defense. That rebound, yeah, we can talk about positioning. I need a 90-degree angle to box out. Nah, you just got to want it more, and I'm going to take you out, and I'm going to go get the ball. So that's the mentality you got to have. Your greatest defenders wanted it. They loved to play defense. It was something they wanted to stick it to you where you can't score, and they wanted to see that look on your face of doubt and just that lack of confidence in your eyes.
I know this team's got that "Want It More" button. I know they got it in there somewhere. Let's hope that they can all push it tonight, get that win over Iowa. Todd, thanks for your question. We got that autograph ball coming your way. Kayla, thanks for your question. We got some Badger Booster Club gear we're going to send to you as well. Thank you to everybody for watching today. Tuck, thanks for your time, man. You were great, informative, got us prepared for this game tonight. Again, if you want to join the Booster Club and be at Chalk Talks like this, hopefully in person next year. It's going to be a different 2021. I hope, I pray. Email Laura Strang, ljs@athletics.wisc.edu. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Don't forget, Wisconsin against Iowa tonight, 6 p.m. on ESPN. Tuck, thanks for your time, man.
Let's go. Let's get this dub.
Badgers.
Go.